The next method that we're going to consider for 3D rotations is something known as the direction cosine method, or the direction cosine matrix, sometimes referred to as DCM. The foundations of DCM were put forth by Euler, but they were formalized in the early 1800s by Cauchy. And fundamentally, if we look at the overall transformation, where we're taking a set of unit vectors that we'll call B, and we're transforming it into a set of vectors A, using some form of rotation, where let's give this a number 24, and TAB is the transformation matrix. Now, full disclosure, I compiled the notes for this section at a different time from the notes of the previous section, and so some of the symbols that I've used in this section are a little bit different from last section, even though they refer to the same thing. In the previous section, I called this overall transformation T03. What I'm talking about is really just this transformation here. Okay? So in this section, instead of calling it x and x triple prime, I've called the unit vectors A hat and B hat. The hat refers to the fact that they're unit vectors. Instead of calling the overall transformation T03, I'm just calling it TAB, where I'm using the same idea that TAB means that I'm transforming from coordinate system B to coordinate system A. So again, this is exactly what I had in the previous section where we looked at the overall transformation, which was the result of the product of the three Euler angle transformations. And TAB is the overall transformation matrix, which I previously called T03. Okay, so I can rewrite this in component form as A1, A2, A3 is equal to this transformation matrix times B1, B2, B3. Yes, theseCijs, C11, C12, etc., is exactly what I called Tij in the previous section. This matrix, which is the components of T03, is in fact the same as this matrix. So the lowercase t's from the previous section, the Tijs, is exactly what I'm calling Cij in this section. In the previous section, I called them t's because I talked about a transformation matrix. Now I'm talking about a direction cosine matrix. I've called them C. But please don't be confused about that. You should be equally comfortable regardless of what I call them. But I just want to make it clear we're talking about the same thing. So this is equation 25, and theCijs are what we call the direction cosines between unit vectors A sub I and B sub j. And I'll explain in a second what I mean by that. Let's just write here, this is the direction cosine matrix. All right, so let's next review the definition of a dot product. If I have two vectors, we'll draw one in blue, one in red, and there's some angle between the vectors I'll call theta sub ij, where the one vector is A sub I and the other vector is B sub j. So theta ij is the angle between vector A sub I and B sub j. Then the dot product, A hat, B hat, these vectors, I don't know why I didn't put hats on them, but they're unit vectors. So if I assume that A sub I and B sub j are in fact unit vectors, I would say that A hat dot B hat is equal to magnitude of A times the magnitude of B times the cosine of the angle between them. This is just the standard definition of a dot product, but because we're dealing with unit vectors in this case, the magnitudes are 1. I can ignore them. All right, so I can write that cosine sub ij is equal to, for shorthand, Cij, and that's equal to A dot B. This is just what I have here. And these are called direction cosines. Okay, so let's just put this all together. This direction cosine matrix, which is the transformation from unit vectors B to A, is defined by these direction cosines, where this is the direction cosine between A1 and B1, this is the direction cosine between A1 and B3, this is the direction cosine between A3 and B2. And if we know our unit vectors A and B, we can simply find these components of the direction cosine matrix by taking the dot product of the corresponding A and B unit vectors. So let me try to put this in context for you. In the previous section, when we looked at the Euler angle sequence, we came up with this transformation matrix by multiplying together each of the Euler angle transformations or rotation. What I'm saying is there's another way to come up with this overall matrix. If you knew the beginning and final orientation of an object, you can figure out what the transformation must be to get from the one to the other simply by taking the dot products of these corresponding unit vectors. Now remember in the previous section where I showed you could find your unit vectors from this transformation matrix? If you have your direction cosines, in other words, if you know this overall matrix because maybe you found it using the direction cosine method, you can convert the direction cosine method back into Euler angles by using equations 20. Similarly, you can use Euler angles to find your direction cosine matrix using equation 18, and in doing so, you can find your direction cosines. So the Euler angle method and the direction cosine method really go hand in hand, and not surprisingly, because Euler was responsible for the Euler angle method and also laid the foundations for the direction cosine method. So these really came from the same source. Now, what is the advantage of the direction cosine method over the Euler angle method? Well, you save yourself some computation because you don't have to do these 3 matrix multiplications, so you reduce computational overhead. And if you happen to know the initial and final configuration, this represents a really easy way of figuring out the transformation between the two. On the other hand, and as I explained earlier, if all that you're given are maybe angular rotation rates because you've got a telemetry stream from an IMU, then what you need to do is use your Euler angle rotations to come up with your overall transformation matrix. And let's give this a number, 27. All right, so on the next page, just to demonstrate this, let's work a really simple example. And I'm going to copy equation 25 over to the next page. And then let's look at the very first rotation we did in the original Euler angle sequence. The direction cosine matrix could be written as TAB, like we did on the previous page. It's the transformation from B to A. And then as an example, let's look at the very first Euler angle rotation we did in the sequence. And I'm just going to copy the diagram from the first page. This is where we rotated by theta 3 around the x3 axis from the 0th coordinate system into the once rotated coordinate system. The angle is theta 3, and I'm going to just add to this drawing this middle angle, which is 90 degrees minus theta 3. If we want to find the transformation from the 1th to the 0th coordinate system, we can go through it component by component. So C11 is going to be equal to x1 dotted with x1 prime. And this is just equal to the cosine of the angle between x1 and x1 prime. So cosine of theta 3. Remember, the magnitudes of x1 and x1 prime are 1 because these are unit vectors. Similarly, for C22, we find the dot product between x2 and x2 prime. And that's just equal to cosine of theta 3. Moving on, we can find component C21 by finding the dot product between x2 and x1 prime. And that's equal to, here's x1 prime and x2, so the cosine of the angle in between is just cosine of 90 degrees minus theta. Now, cosine of 90 degrees minus theta 3 is just equal to the sine of theta 3. Similarly, for C12, it's the cosine of the angle between x1 and x2 prime. That would be 90 degrees plus theta 3 is that angle. So cosine of 90 degrees plus theta 3. This can be rewritten as C12 is equal to minus sine of theta. Okay, similarly for C33, since x3 and x3 prime are in the same direction, the cosine of the angle between them is just 1. And similarly for C31 and C32 and C13 and C23, those are going to be 0 because those are 90 degrees apart. Cosine of 90 degrees is 0. Just for shorthand, wrote it as 3ci, where I is 1 and 2. All right, I'm just going to number all of these collectively, equation 28. And let me just assemble it in a matrix, our TAB matrix. That would be C11 is cosine theta 3, C22 is cosine theta 3, C21 is sine theta 3, C12, and then we got 1, 0, 0. And I just realized I left off my subscript 3 here. That should be a 3. This matrix here has 9 different components. For the direction cosine matrix, we need to store 9 parameters. And one of the clear advantages of the direction cosine method is that unlike the Euler angle method, it is not susceptible to Gimbal lock. Okay, and that's all I want to say about the direction cosine method. And with that, we've come to the end of part 2 of this mini-series. I'm going to save the review for when we're done with part 4, at which time I'll give a comprehensive review on all parts 1 through 4. I hope you found something useful in this video. If you did, please go ahead and hit those like buttons, or better still, subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon to be notified of future video releases. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. The lecture notes for this video are available using the link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch up with you in the next one.